internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind Creation Miss Couture. And in today's episode, we are going to be comparing 3 different brands of acid dyes so we can compare Dharma Trading Co., Pro Chemicals, and Jacquard acid dyes. So why I'm going to do this, it's because we all have different budget, we all have different price point that we are willing to put our money into something. So we just want to compare those 3 different brands that are, I would say, in the more popular brands that we can find. So let's get into this. Okay, so today we're going to be swatching 3 different companies. So we're going to be, what I believe, swatching the closest colors that are technically the same in 3 different companies. So we have here Fluorescent Fuchsia from Dharma Trading Co. Here we have Hot Pink from Pro Chemical, and here we have Hot Fuchsia from Jacquard. So in my personal opinion, they will be the closest to each other. Now, why do I want to swatch? Is simply because sometimes there is company that you will be more inclined to work with, and some companies that you will have different choices and colors, and readily available and reliability and all those things. So Dharma over here, we're just going to do a quick swatch. Here is really, I've only had good experience so far, but I do know that they have a tendency to reformulate sometimes, so you don't always want a company that reformulate their dry powder often. Prochem, I've been told, doesn't seem to... Zoe, what the hell? What the hell? She never does that. Yeah, so Prochem, as I have been told, has been very reliable when it comes for consistency-wise from batch to batch. And we have Jacquard here. Jacquard can be easily found on Amazon, and I've seen it in a lot of local yarn shop, so I think that makes it a little bit more readily available for people, especially when you're in Canada, because both Dharma and Prochem I had to order from the online store they have, and Jacquard I was able to find it in a local yarn shop. And both Dharma and Prochem have, it all starts at 2-ounce jar. In Jacquard you can have ½ ounce. So when you're just getting started, ½ ounce can be a good idea. But I'm saying this, but like this 2-ounce jar from Dharma, I have this one since I started dyeing in 2022, and I still have a lot because it's not necessarily a color that I use that often. And when I use it, I don't use that much because it's very powerful color. And so this is also one of the reasons I'm doing in this experiment and swatch I'm doing so I'm not doing a 1% depth of shade, I'm doing like 0.5% of depth of shade for the 3, because I know that this one has a tendency to bleed if you go like 1% and above of depth of shade, and you usually have residue in the water. That's how I do some of my colors. I have a color that I call chewed gum because it's a very beautiful soft pink, but it's done using all the time the leftover dye bath I have from using Fluorescent Fuchsia from Dharma. So this is why I'm doing 0.5% of depth of shade for the 3 of them, because I want to give the 3 of them the same condition. So we're going to be doing this. All right, so I'm just going to, and I've labeled my jars as well. And you can see already that they're kind of similar, so that's good. There is some differences in shade, I feel, but we're definitely going to be able to see it better once we've dyed our mini skeins. Today I will be using the 10-gram mini skeins stroll fingering weight from Knitpick. And I have 300 milliliters of tap water in each jar. So I'm trying to give the same condition, and 300 milliliters in a 500 milliliter of in a mason jar of 500 milliliter space, so that way there's plenty of room for the yarn to move. Okay, so you're good. You kind of see that it seems to be similar, but this one seems a little paler compared to the Dharma one. But we will have to compare that more once everything has been dyed properly, set properly, and dried. Another reason I wanted to do this experience is because the price range is different from each company. I would say, depending on like the size and the color, Jacquard might be your more, I would say, like the price might be more in your budget. So this is also another reason why I want to do an experiment, so that like people can see what fits within their budget. I will be adding the price for each containers here. And I just want to mention that since I purchased this one from a local yarn store, I paid in Canadian, so I will have to do the math for this. But both of those were paid in US dollar. Okay, so they look very similar. So on the website for ProChem, they were saying that for superwash yarn, sometimes you have a harder time to get a good coverage for their dye. So we shall see how it goes. So we are going to be adding the jars over here, and we're going to be filling the water to the water line. I'm going to grab a little bit more. Okay. And if you've noticed, I haven't added the acid right just quite yet, just so that I could help with a good coverage of the yarn. Especially since ProChem seems to say that with superwash yarn you need to like work it a little bit more and be careful if you want a good coverage. So I would say that the Jacquard and the Dharma are so far the most similar one, where the ProChem is paler. So that's interesting. So I just turned on the heat. It will take a while for the water to come to the right temperature to cook the yarn, but I'm going to be adding my acid now. So I usually measure the acid with my heart, but today, since we're doing an experiment, I want to have I want to be as precise as possible and have the most similar condition for each jar. So I'm going to be using this half teaspoon to add the acid. And we don't need that much acid since it's only 10 grams mini skeins. So I'm very curious to see. And what I should do is probably grab a Sharpie and add the initial of the company on the tie wrap. I'll do that later. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to let this cook for how long it will need. So since it's going to be longer, probably in an hour, then I will come back and check on it. So see you in about an hour. Okay, so that's good. That's good. So we can still see that the Pro Chem is lighter than the two others. But it's a very similar color. It's just lighter. Interesting. Okay, so turn this off. We'll let it cool and wash it afterwards. So here's the yarn fully dried from our experiment. And you can see that there is a very slight difference from the Pro Chem compared to Dharma and Jacquard. I believe that it's fine. It's almost the same color, but this one is definitely light on the lighter side, which means that you would just have to add a little bit more dry powder to create a higher concentration of color. And I believe the difference between those three comes from the fact that when you look at the Pro Chem website, they are using weight on goods instead of depth of shade, I believe, compared to others. And I was looking, and this one, so the hot pink, needs a 3% weight of good to be closer to what a 1% depth of shade with Dharma or Jacquard would look like. So this is just little things that you need to keep in mind when you're working with different company, which honestly, I'm very happy with how they all turned out. I would say that the Jacquard and the Dharma are pretty much the exact same shade, and you can see the difference between the Pro Chem and the two others, but it's virtually the same. So honestly, at the end of the day, I think it will come down to price tag, because there is a slight difference. And like I said, the Jacquard can come in half-ounce jar compared to a minimum of 2-ounce jars for Pro Chem and Dharma. So it really depends on where you are in your journey. Pro Chem is a little higher on the price tag than the two others. Jacquard is readily available in a lot of local yarn shop that I've noticed. So and color wise, I think it all came down really nicely. You just have to make sure to shake your skeins in the... Oh, hi Zoe, now you want to come and say hi? Hi, yes, we love you too. Okay, can you move? Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah, so it just kind of comes down to preference in the price tag and the availability near you. I do know that Dharma and Jacquard are known to reformulate their dry powder, so just be aware that if it's a different dye lot, it might be different from the one you have at home. Sometimes not, sometimes yes. Where Pro Chem, I haven't heard yet of someone saying that they had issues between different batches of dry powder. So this is things that you need to keep in mind. And thank you for watching. If you've liked the video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really helps. Yes, Zoe, and it helps to put food on Zoe's table. Yes, yes, it does. Okay, I will see you in the next one soon. Bye.